And we'll just hit your button for me, John. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Sorry we're a few minutes late coming out of our other meeting tonight, so we wish to welcome you here, and everyone watching at home, we'll call the meeting to order. And first item, please, Common Clerk.
Your Worship, item 2.1 on your agenda, the minutes of April the 23rd.
So moved. Second.
Okay, thank you. Moved by the Deputy, second by Councillor Sullivan. And on the question, all those in favor? Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any, thank you. Next item.
Item 3 is the approval of the agenda, and we have 3 proposed additions coming from Committee of the Whole. The first one is 16.1. It's a Safe Clean Drinking Water Westwater update. 16.2, management terms and conditions, and 16.3, dredging a market slip. And I understand that the Deputy Mayor may have
Let me,
an
thank
addition.
you. Okay, Deputy, you have a couple.
Yes, I have 2 letters to put on for ticket request. One is the Seafood Festa from the St. John Port. It's going to be held on June the 11th at Market Square, Atrium. Reception and dinner, and tickets $140. That would be added as an item for council to consider. And the other one is Loyalist Day Dinner, which is held on May 18th, which is the city's birthday. And that will be held at the Union Club at a cost of $50 each. And the guest speaker is the vice chair of that organization, David Peters.
Okay.
So if I could add those.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Somebody want to move acceptance?
I'll move the agenda as
Present.
renewed or presented, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moved and seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. And on the question, all those in favor? Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any? Okay, thank you. Getting lots of feedback. Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Your Worship, next item, disclosure of conflict of interest.
Okay, not seeing any lights or any hands. Okay, thank you. Next item.
Next item, the consent agenda.
I'll move items 5.1 to 5.7 inclusive.
Seconded, please.
Okay, moved by the Deputy, seconded by Councillor Merrithew. And Councillor McKenzie, you have a question on an item?
I do. 5.5, Your Worship. I'm glad to see we're moving forward a little bit, but back in 2012, I asked that we train our own staff and get our own equipment to do this annual flushing of our fire hydrants. It's going on year after year, forever, for safe clean drinking water, and I think that we need to move in that direction. I see in the report that, down the road, that's where we want to go. I wish it hadn't taken so long. But I would ask one thing for sure. Last year, or last time it was done, on King Street, a valve was opened up, water was flowing down the center of King Street, and there was people trying to cross with high heels on, and there's just no common sense being used. That's something that should be done at midnight or a time when there's nobody on that street. So, I have no problem continuing the practice until we can do it ourselves, but I would like a little common sense used in terms of, when and where to do it, because when you've got a tourist ship in and you've got tourists walking across King Street getting soaked because some guy's flushing a fire hydrant, I'll just leave you with that.
Okay. Okay, Mr. McGovern, comment?
Yes, good evening, Your Worship. We do exercise the practice of adding a diffuser, our contractor does, to ensure that the water is redirected or and that it's diffused in such a manner that it does not damage anything. And so they do exercise caution. They do, however, work sun up to sundown 5 days a week, and so they are mindful of that, but we'll ensure to have the discussion with them and take it back to reinforce the importance of paying close attention to citizens, particularly in the uptown.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, next item, Common Clerk. Oh, I apologize.
Call
What
the
did-
question?
I apologize, sorry, we should vote probably, I apologize. On the consent agenda then, the question's on the floor, all those in favor? Okay, anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing anything, thank you, apologize. Okay, next item?
Next item, Your Worship, members' comments.
Okay. Wonderful, Councillor Armstrong.
Yes, thank you, Worship. I just want to give a shout out to all the EMO and the city workers for opening up the roads in Westfield and the Randolph Bridge. I know the residents were very frustrated, but precautions had to be taken, and hopefully we'll be looking into a permanent solution for those people that live in those areas, so they won't be left all alone and unattended to in an emergency situation. But everybody did their job this time, and like I said, hopefully we'll look forward to a permanent solution of fixing the roads, raising the roads. Also, don't forget, fair taxation. Look on the city's website, look under the white paper, look under the fair taxation. It affects every person in this province. It's going to committee, and hopefully the citizens will get involved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councillor Casey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just out on I caught the later half of the Fog City Comic-Con up at the St. John Free Public Library uptown. So it was pretty, I go to quite a bit of them. This one obviously a little smaller, but we still had very good people in costume and some artists and some people, some vendors. So I got a few pictures I put up on my Facebook page. So just keep an eye. A lot of events coming up. So check the city website and discover St. John, and even the St. John Library. Check their website. All kinds of events coming up. It's the summer. Everybody's doing stuff. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Your Worship. While it's a smaller council chamber, usually our council chamber is full when something contentious is on the agenda, but from looking out, I think I recognize a fair number of folks who are here because of our climate action plan that's going to be on the table tonight, which I'm ever so excited about. But I see some students at the back of the room from our area high schools, and just want to congratulate them on their political involvement on this issue. If you want to scare old people, young people, vote and get out and be political, and thank you for doing so. So thanks to everybody who's here and interested in our climate action plan. And of course, summer's coming. The Cherrybrook Zoo is taking registrations for their summer camps. But even more importantly, they've got a baby wallaby. And if you want to vote on the name of their new wallaby, you go to their Facebook site, and here are your options: Pepper, Winnie, Willoughby, Wanda, Willow, and Juniper.
Can't be a J, it's got to be a W, doesn't it?
I don't know if it's the year of the J for wallabies. Anyway, it's a fantastic, cute little thing. My family got to visit with the yet-to-be-named baby the other week. Go out, support your Cherrybrook Zoo, enjoy the sun, and visit your new wallaby. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councillor Norton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good luck to all the candidates running in the Ward 3 by-election this evening. So, almost over the deputy, I hear, saying from across the way. So, for all those courageous enough to put their names in the ring, thank you for stepping forward to serve your community, and we look forward to working with you. So, no one's a loser in this one, but many lessons learned, that's for sure. Saturday, Mr. Dave Ryan's here in the audience. He's going to be presenting with Shining Horizons Therapeutic Riding Association in a minute. But if it's not canceled, and I haven't heard that it is, Saturday, May 11th, Dominion Park Beach Cleanup is a go. And you can stay up to date if you visit their Facebook page for Dominion Park. It's 9 to 11 If you don't come for the cleanup, come for the barbecue, and that will be held as well. So I know there's been many hands that have kind of stepped forward to pay a lending hand. So we look forward to the community gathering and getting that park cleaned up. It's a destination for a lot of folks in the area. A couple other things on the landing page of the city website: agencies, boards, and commissions. They're always turning over and bringing in new folks. So if you're interested in seeing what some of those agencies, boards, and commissions do as it relates to City Hall proper and beyond, put your name forward, and we're always looking for new candidates and refreshing the blood pool, if you will. So check that out, and back to you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Well, just wanted to announce to everyone that on the weekend there was a couple anniversaries that took place. The Seabells of St. John, who have a lot of members, and they had their 50th anniversary. So they've been singing all kinds of songs and making people happy for the past 50 years, and they had a wonderful celebration on the weekend. They were all very happy and had a lot of people that visited them from Halifax and Fredericton and that were at one time a member of the Seabells. So it was nice to have their celebration. Also in East St. John, the East St. John Minor Basketball Association. They've been going for 30 years, so they had their 30th anniversary on the weekend, and they had a lot of their players there and their coaches and instructors that have been around for a long time teaching basketball. So just want to extend congratulations to them from all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy. Councillor Merrithew.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the back of what Councillor Norton had to say, this is the time of year where the good citizens of St. John are cleaning up their own neighborhoods, and with that, Councillor Strobridge and myself are hosting a cleanup in Glen Falls, 9:30 to 2:30 on Saturday, and come for the barbecue as well. We've got the chiefs, the fire department is going to be there and helping out with the barbecue, so we're looking forward to that. Thank you. This Saturday, yes. Sorry, this Saturday. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Just a couple of comments for me. Thanks very much, everyone. I'm going to save my most of my remarks in terms of thanks of the efforts of St. John EMO, St. John Fire, St. John Police, our local 18 inside, outside workers, our management team, citizens. We'll talk more about that later on, and I know the Chief's going to be giving us an update. I just want to jump on Councillor Norton's comments about really thrilled, looking forward to working with our new council colleague. We'll know, I suppose, somewhere after 9 o'clock tonight. But it was such a great sign that citizen engagement can take many forms. The fact that 7 candidates came forward, excellent candidates who all had a lot of passion. I did attend the debate that took place last week, I believe it was, and we've had some great conversations as well around the engagement issue and how can we, what else can we do? I think I had a bit of a mental block, to be honest. Elections NB runs that, and we shouldn't get involved. But I through those conversations, through some online conversations, have some new ideas that perhaps we could deploy, in the future here to encourage even more engagement. The other way that citizens can engage, and they can engage in many ways with us in this day and age. But I was standing in my office last week, and I heard some noise outside. And I looked out my window, and there was a lot of people. And so, of course, I did the next most natural thing is I went down because I wanted to see what all the people were gathered for. And it was some of the young leaders in the back of the room with us today. And boy, oh boy, I'll tell you, and if you could bottle up that passion and that energy and that drive for change, and we could sell that around the globe, and we'd solve any financial challenge we might have. But more importantly, it was a mission that day to raise awareness, to bring move change forward. In terms of climate change, and I thank everyone that I want to say there was 200 to 300. I'm looking for there was a lot of people, and it was really interesting to see the conversation as well that took place online, everything from they're just skipping school to, say, come on, folks, let's, no, this is a group of leaders in our community that feel incredibly passionate about the future, that came out to say, look, we want, in some cases, they want some of us older folks to wake up. So I'm really glad to see you here tonight. I hope that, I hope you appreciate the effort that's gone into the conversation that we're going to have tonight, and I thank you. And the one-on-one conversations that I had, I walked away incredibly impressed with, again, the passion, with the ability to articulate, excuse me, a position, and also thank you to all the folks that I spoke to also listen in return. I said, look, I don't have all the answers. Here's where we are. Here's what we're working on, and this work tonight. Someone asked me on the weekend, well, Mayor, you guys just pulled all that together on the weekend because of all these climate events, and I said, well, when you see the hundreds of pages that are being presented here tonight, I can assure you we didn't just pull it together. This has been in the works for some time, and so I just want to congratulate you for coming together last week, and thank you for being here, and other leaders as well. I'm not just trying to single out the folks that were out in front of City Hall. I also want to say it was my honor on behalf of Council to host a Consular General of for the United States in Halifax, Kevin Skillen, who Mr. Skillen was in St. John last week, and we had a discussion about a range of issues, and so it was really great to host the Consulate General, and then also to the next day go to a luncheon with the Canadian Consulate General in Boston, former Premier David Allward. So always great to try and represent again on our behalf, Council's behalf and the citizens' behalf, interests of the city and that very strong relationship that we have cross-border. Lastly, I want to celebrate today that it was sunny and quite warm and beautiful, and how great I felt just walking for my laps around uptown. And lastly, Asian Heritage Month is throughout the month of May. It kicked off yesterday, and I was reflecting at one point, I leaned over to my wife and I said, wow, we are so lucky in Canada that we have such a diverse culture, and in St. John that we get to celebrate all of these cultures, not just a singular culture. And the presentations were absolutely amazing, and I just wanted to share with you, but I've lost my phone. Here it is. Just wanted to share with you the series of events that are happening over the next couple of days. So the opening ceremony started yesterday. Really, really excited. The Indian community is bringing a festival called Eastern Lights. That's Saturday, May 11th, 6 p.m. at Lily Lake, which is going to be a whole range of cultural experiences, which include also 300 candles that will be floated out in the evening's dark into Lily Lake. And this is a festival that happens in India, and they're ecstatic to be sharing this with us here as well. Bollywood Dance Workshop, which somehow I've signed myself up for, at McAllister Place on May the 18th. Please do not come and videotape that. The Best of Asia in YSJ Asian Heritage Cultural Gala, Saturday, May 25th at 6 p.m. at the Marco Polo Cruise Terminal. Please don't miss it. These galas are absolutely incredible. And Asian Heritage Art Exhibit, that's going to be St. John, Maine Millennial Art Place throughout the month, and then there's going to be on Saturdays for the rest of the month multicultural markets at the St. John City Market. So thank you very much, and back to you, Common Clerk. There you go.
Your Worship, we have a number of proclamations. The first one on the agenda is 7.1, and it's for Emergency Preparedness Week, May 5th to 11th.
Well, this is very timely. The proclamation reads, whereas May 5th to 11th, 2019 is Emergency Preparedness Week in Canada, and whereas Emergency Preparedness Week is designed to increase public awareness of the importance of personal and business preparedness to cope with emergencies, and whereas emergency preparedness is a shared responsibility in which every person in business can help reduce risk, the risks we face by learning how to better prepare ourselves, our families, and our community. And whereas in times of crisis, the City of St. John, its citizens and businesses, staff, and the agencies of the St. John Emergency Management Organization have collectively demonstrated their commitment to provide for the safety, health and welfare of citizens, the protection of property and the environment, and the ability to respond to emergencies in a highly professional and safe manner. And whereas an informed, prepared, and cooperative public is vital to effective emergency preparedness, planning, and emergency response. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Don Darling of St. John, do hereby proclaim May 5th to the 11th, 2019 as Emergency Preparedness Week in the City of St. John. Thank you.
Next proclamation is 7.2 on your agenda, and this is for National Police Week, May 12th to 18th.
Great, thank you. And Inspector LeBlanc is here with us tonight and acting as our acting chief, I believe, while Chief Connell is away. Is that correct? Inspector? Yeah, great. Nice to be here. Nice to have you here, sorry. So the proclamation reads, whereas the Government of Canada recognizes the week of May 12th to 18th, 2019 as National Police Week, and whereas the St. John Police Force will be recognized as providing exemplary leadership and service reflective of the public safety needs of the community to enhance the quality of life, and whereas the St. John Police Force has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement body which increasingly provides a vital public service, and whereas every day our law enforcement officers render dedicated service to our community, and whereas, as concerns about crime rise, the way Canadians think about policing is transformed. Integration of the creative thinking of law enforcement administrators and academics with a wide body of policy research findings has yielded the concept of community policing. Unlike programs intended to address specific problems faced by law enforcement, community policing calls on an all-encompassing change in the way police perform their duties. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police force, recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against deception, and the weak against oppression or intimidation. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Don Darling of St. John, do hereby proclaim the week of May 12th to May 18th, 2019 as National Police Week in honor of the men and women whose dedication, professionalism, and significant daily contributions keep our citizens and communities safe. Thank you. Next item.
The final proclamation is 7.3 on the agenda. It's for Huntington's Disease Awareness Month for the month of May.
Okay, thank you. So whereas the fear of losing one's mind and the fear of losing control of one's body are among the most profound human fears, and whereas both losses occur in Huntington's disease, an inherited and fatal brain disorder that strikes in the prime of life, and whereas every child of a parent or parents with Huntington's disease faces a 50% risk of inheriting this genetic disorder, and there is no effective treatment and no known cure yet. And whereas the Huntington Society of Canada has initiated and supported research into the cause and nature of this fatal disease, and the work of the society has brought new hope to the people with Huntington disease and families who bear the burden of this affliction. And whereas research continues to offer the promise of early diagnosis, treatment, techniques, and ultimately a cure for Huntington disease. And whereas the month of May will be observed as Huntington Disease Awareness Month in communities across Canada. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Don Darling of St. John, do hereby proclaim May 2019 as Huntington Disease Awareness Month in the City of St. John, and urge all our citizens to lend their support to the Huntington Society of Canada in its efforts to unravel not only the mystery of Huntington's disease, but also a wide range of other genetic, neurological, and psychiatric disorders affecting the lives of so many Canadians. Thank you very much. Next item.
Your Worship, next item on the agenda is 8.1, and this is a presentation by Dave Ryan, Executive Director of Shining Horizons, with respect to Therapeutic Riding Association.
Wonderful. Okay. I'll invite you up to the podium. Thank you. Let me just get your microphone turned on. There you are.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I am by no means a professional speaker, so I will make mistakes and I rely on notes. So, Your Worship and Councillors, thank you very much for allowing Shining Horizons to come in and present to you. We're going to give you just a brief presentation. My name is Dave Ryan. I do live at Dominion Park, as Councillor Norton pointed out a little earlier. Also with us is Kent Grass, who is the chair of the board of Shining Horizons. I'm going to go through the presentation, and then if you have any questions, Kent can come up and answer the questions. So, the last time we were here in front of you as council, we were here asking for the subdivision of the property at Redhead Road. And we've come a long way since then. So this is what we're going to sort of walk you through and show you more so. It's more visual presentation than listening to me read words off of slides. So I just need to find out, 2 years ago. The other thing we want to do is thank Council and the City of St. John for the community grant that was afforded to us for Shining Horizons. I'll talk briefly about how we had separated our fundraising. We have capital campaign fundraising and then operational fundraising. And the assistance that you provided to us is greatly appreciated and will be put to great use feeding the horses. So, Shining Horizons, we are a registered charity. We are located at 1690 Redhead Road. Also, Councillor Norton, one of the things I wanted to mention was, because I think it was a very valid point, I watched the meeting where the community grants were discussed, and you talked about audited statements. We have audited statements. We have our second years being audited now. It should be done soon. And they will be on our website when I figure out how to do it. But if anybody in council or anybody out in the world wants to see our audited statements, just contact me. We'll send them to you. We're as transparent as can be. But figuring out the internet stuff is not as great as I thought it was. So as a brief history, Shining Horizons offers horseback riding program, which is called Equine Therapy, to youth from St. Stephen to Sussex with, but not limited to, autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, neuromuscular disorders as a source of enjoyment, therapeutic exercise, and recreational sport. Shining Horizons was established in 1996 and was born out of the need of a mother in St. John who was looking for an activity to enhance the life of her young child who was born with cerebral palsy, for whom therapeutic riding was discovered to be the best activity. That's where we were born as Shining Horizons, and we've grown from that. We bring together youth with disabilities, both visual and not, trained therapeutic riding horses, and highly qualified trainers for special experience for both the rider and their families. Horses are known for being sensitive creatures, in tune with their riders, and regular participation in our program allows for physical, social, and emotional development for our participants. It's quite something to actually see if you took the time to volunteer as a side walker or a lead walker and see how some of these participants actually progress as the sessions go on. It's the horses have the ability to bring out things that just that may not come out under normal circumstances. We have always operated as a part-time association until now. Thank you. Much appreciated. About 4 or 5 years ago, we as a board sat down and really looked at where we were. We were providing 10 sessions for 10 to 14 participants, spring and fall only. We were renting facilities and renting the service animals. At that time, we had a wait list of probably 40 to 45. So the board, we decided that it was time for us to step up and turn ourselves into a full-time service provider. And we're quite pleased to say that we're just about there today. We are part of the community now in St. John, located on Redhead Road. And we now have close to 70 on our wait list of families. And we're looking forward to clearing that wait list, and our 5-year business plan has us ramping up to, at the end of 5 years, being able to serve 90 families per year. Councillors Merrithew and Strobridge have been out to visit our facility, and there's an open invitation to yourselves, anybody here and anybody out there in the world who would like to come out and visit the facility. Just give us a call beforehand, and we'll make sure somebody's there to take on a tour through and to meet the animals. So, as mentioned, last time we were here, we came to you for subdivision, and we were granted, thank you very much, and so we turned this piece of property, is when we started, into, this is our facility today. The facility is an equine therapy center. It is a riding stable and barn, but it was designed with a lot of expertise and a lot of forethought, heavily directed by Kent, to be more of a therapeutic center than a riding center. You'll notice this is the indoor ring. This Maddie, our employee, exercising one of our service animals.
Oh, wow.
There's natural light that comes into the facility. There's the brightness. We wanted to use as much of the natural light we could, just because some of our participants have afflictions to the unnatural style light. So that's where we are today. This slide shows our 4 service animals that we have in place today. There's Dusty, Sunny, Blaze, and Jill. Jill's the one on the top right laying down. We mention our horses, our service animals, because that's exactly what they are. We have some strict rules and regulations that relate to how the animals are cared for and how they're trained. Little things like we don't allow people to feed them by hand. Just in case, a child was there and maybe they had an orange glove on, and of course one of the animals thought it was a carrot or something along those lines. We don't let people stick their hands through the gating in the stalls. And these horses are worked as service animals. Horses aren't used to having 2 people walking on either side of them and somebody leading them, which is how we have to do it for our sessions. We're governed by an association called CANTRA, which is the Canadian Therapeutic Riding Association. We have 2 certified CANTRA instructors, and that certification is not easy to come by. It takes a good 3 to 4 years, volunteer hours, training with the horses. You have to have a coaching certificate for horses too as well, Kent. And it's expensive. So we have another one who's going to be stepping up soon, but as we progress as a full-time center as well too, we are going to be looking for more certified instructors just to help service the families. But the instructors are the ones that lead the training for our service animals, and they do a wonderful job. There's Sunny and Dusty just having a little summer sunny day, playing a little game of halter tag. And that's our property runs down right onto the beach at Redhead. We have trails that run down through, and as mentioned, the horses have to be worked. So we do have certain volunteers who have riding experience, and they can come exercise the horses. This was a day last fall that it was low tide, and it's pretty spectacular to get down and see those horses down running on the beach. And those 2 girls they've been riding for years, but they're still teenagers, and we're lucky to have them as volunteers to come in here and work with the horses. Because if you don't work the horses, they basically eat and poop. In regards to our partners, I mentioned earlier that we separated our fundraising. We have been, since we've been in existence, been fundraising operationally on an annual basis. When we decided that we were building the facility, the Equine Therapy Center, we undertook a capital campaign, and we were very lucky to have some wonderful partners and individuals who stepped up, that today we can say we have the facility built and paid for. We will not be holding a mortgage on the facility. We have, if you look at the slide in the top left, it's just some photos of Canaport LNG coming out. They provided us with a very generous donation. The top right is retired Justice Turnbull. The Turnbull Home Foundation contributed to our capital campaign. Who else do we have? TELUS contributed, yourselves at City of St. John to the operational side of it. Windsor Foundation, there's a number of them. We were very lucky in the support that we got to put this Equine Therapy Center up. The 2 slides on the bottom, I just love these. It's, the operation side, we're always looking for ways to fundraise. We're a charitable organization. We need money. We have to feed our horses. The bottom left is Megan Merino. She was a student at, I'm not sure whether it was Barnhill School or which school it was, but they had a class where they had to develop a product and sell it, and then donate any proceeds. So she had decided she was going to donate to Shining Horizons. She went through, she had about a $40 profit, and then she decided she wanted to go out and buy more of the ingredients to make her hot chocolate. And so somebody came along and said, well, we'll buy it for whatever it costs you for the ingredients, and she ended up donating about $200 to Shining Horizons. And Megan's out now as a volunteer, working with us as a volunteer as well. The bottom right slide is 2 girls that in the fall the last couple of years over in Somerville, they've done an arts festival along the road in Somerville in Chapel Grove. So these two girls, the last 2 years, have set up a lemonade stand, and they've sold lemonade and donated to the Shining Horizons as well. So we take big donations, we take small donations, we take all donations. And look at this picture of the mayor and Kent and the group from the Community Grants Foundation. And as mentioned previously, we want to thank everybody here for the assistance you provided us through the community grants. As mentioned, volunteers, we are highly dependent on volunteers. The top right slide shows a session with one of our participants on the horse. So we have our instructor, we have a lead, and then 2 sidewalkers. So for every one of our sessions, we require a minimum of 3 volunteers just to ensure the participant's safe. Happy to say we have well over 100 on our volunteer list. Actually, it's closer to about 140. Some we haven't had a chance to talk with yet. Some have been with us forever. We just did 3 refresher training courses with the volunteers, and we're lucky to have the people we have. The top left slide, it shows people came out after we had some of the construction done, and we did a big dusting and a cleanup inside the facility. The bottom right, another one of my favorite, we have twice now had delivery of hay. We go through a lot of hay, so when you have 250 bales of hay coming into the facility, and you put a call out for volunteers to help unload the hay and stack it up. But I can proudly say for the 2 loads that we've had the hay unloaded and stacked within under 30 minutes, just for the volunteers that we've had. So it's a lot of fun.
Yes, we could have used some help on sandbags last week.
Yeah. In regards to the community, we're very proud to be in St. John. And this is, for St. John, this is a unique center. The only other similar center that I'm aware of is in Newfoundland that was built as an equine therapy center. There's lots of riding facilities, but not equine therapy centers. But we've worked closely. You can see the photos here are the community college. The top left, bottom left, and bottom right is the community college welding class that came out one day and said they wanted to work on some of the trails behind. At the time, our facilities, the structure was up, the steel structure, so they also got the benefit of looking at the welds that were put together for that, and it worked out quite well. On the top right is the New Brunswick Community College marketing class. We worked with them on some social development programming and best practices for us to put our message out in regards to fundraising, and they helped us out quite a bit. The others that we work with are on an ongoing basis. We work with New Brunswick Association of Community Living. We're active with Pro Kids, UCT, and today we had, must have been 20. There was, it's Professional Development Day from the school district, so there was a group of, I would say close to 20 educational assistants, is that what they call EAs, who came out to Shining Horizons, and we took them on a tour of the facility and explained to them what we do at Shining Horizons. And they met with the horses, and it was a great time. It was about an hour and a half meeting with them. And so basically, the right-hand slide here is our observation room / family room looking out into the facility, and then the other one is just a couple that were out helping with the hay that day, hanging out with Sunny, and they wanted their picture taking. But I guess what I wanted to finish off on our side of it is that we also, we are a charity, registered charity, and we, I say I'm the executive director. That means I get to shovel poop in the mornings and beg for money in the afternoons. But we also, we're part of this community, and we contribute. We contribute back. We now have 2 full-time positions that have been created because of this facility in St. John. We have 1 part-time position. When we are up and running, our instructors will be remunerated for the time that they're spent in the ring, so we're contributing in that manner. I mentioned that we had a 5-year business plan in place, and as we grow, our budgeting will grow over the 5 years because we're going to have a few more horses and more hay and some more fundraising. We are doing the best job that we can to try and source all of our products locally. There's some that we can't, just to the nature of it, but we're a new tax account for the city of St. John with our property now being subdivided. We're a new account for St. John Energy. Local businesses, Cyber Solutions has provided our video surveillance. We deal with shore gain on Rossi Avenue a lot. Protect Sanitation has provided all our soaps and sanitizers and that. Home Hardware has come on as a very strong supporter of us. Kent's, Loch Lomond Veterinarian. So we're embedded in the community, and we're very proud to be here. And again, want to thank you for the dollars that you contributed. The last thing that I want to mention is that, because this is a very self-serving plug that I want to throw for us, we are doing a gala event on May 16th at the Delta Hotel. We have this amazing speaker who's coming down from Toronto. Her name is Tracy Smith. She goes by Unstoppable Tracy. She's a quadriplegic, and she's also a 6-time Paralympian. She's medaled in sailing and skiing, I believe. But she's turned her life into professional speaking, motivational speaking, etc. And when I first heard about Tracy, I said, I don't think we can afford her. When we got on the phone with her and explained Shining Horizons, she basically has pretty well generously donated her time to come down and be here and meet with some of the community and speak at our gala. So, yeah, so if anybody's interested, we have a few tickets left, and just give us a call or send us an email. So if there's any questions, I'll ask Kent to come up and he can answer the questions.
Okay, Mr. Ryan, thank you. We may have a few questions here for you. Councillor Merrithew.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Dave. I should say Councillor Strobridge and I were out to the facility, and it truly is a remarkable operation supporting these families with the burdens they have, these disabilities and disorder burdens. I can speak for myself and the grant committee. Deputy Mayor Shirley McAlery is on it as well. But we were pleased to help you out. One of the best submissions I thought that came through us this last year. So I hope we see you there again. And lastly, perhaps someone could just give the clerk here a little email regarding your tickets, okay? And we'll go through the process as we do for a lot of these events in the city of St. John.
So we're just checking that, actually just leaned over. Our next council meeting's not till the 20th, so if in fact, when we're done here, perhaps we can add it to tonight's discussion.
Thank you, sir.
With
Yeah,
council's will. I
great
just
idea.
caught the same item, yeah.
Thank you. But again, just thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming to see us.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your presentation, and David, a nice job, and Ken. I just wanted to ask you about, you have 4 serviceable horses. How many families did you say that you service now? Like,
Right now, we're about 14 families. That's what we've been holding for quite a while. This will be the first time in a new facility, so we haven't opened up the waiting list just yet. We're going to get a session under our belt, and I think that starts in about 3 weeks.
After the long weekend.
Yeah, after a long weekend in
and
May.
you said there was about 90 families on your
There is
waiting
about
list?
90 families on the waiting list now.
So how does it work?
7.
Like, just so the public knows, like,
That is a complex question.
well, no, but like with the families, like, they would never grow out of not wanting the
No, and we get
service.
contacted continuously. And we would encourage everyone to reach out to either our Facebook or our website. There's a way to contact us there. As far as who goes where, it depends on the individual's needs and the horses we have, as well as the volunteers. It's really complex to deliver. You figure you have a very unstable child, and all the volunteers are quite short, and they're trying to stabilize. So there's a lot of complexities that the instructors deal with to determine who's the best fit for the program as we move along.
So you sort of, when you have an opportunity to take new families, then you assess them and see if
Reassess and
they
test.
fit the program.
Yep.
So, and I was just wondering, I haven't looked on your website, but like, what is your operational budget to do a business like this? Like, what kind of money do you need on a yearly basis?
192 for this year.
192,000.
Yes.
So, and most of it's all fundraising
Yes.
and volunteers.
There is a fee for the child to participate, of which I should clarify, we'll never turn a child away if they can't pay that fee.
So are you on our program of Pro Kids, like, so your business is on that, and if there's somebody that applies through Pro Kids, And Pro Kids sort of funds that person, they could come
Correct.
into the program.
Correct. There's been a number of different programs like that, Step Up. There's been private companies that
Yes.
have sponsored children in
Okay.
the past.
Right.
And we look forward to pushing that along more.
So as you collect more money, I guess, on an operational basis, then you could have obtain more horses, and then you'd be able to
Yes.
accommodate more
Yes.
families.
Now, we're only 8 stalls, and we'll probably only ever have 6 therapeutic horses on site at any one time. And that will be our limit. We don't want to get too big. We can't get too big because of the property size and the likes of that. It just becomes too big a task.
So is it like for if it's a child, they'd come out like for an hour, is that what it would be
Typically,
like?
yes. It all depends on the child. Some children can only really tolerate 15 minutes on the
Oh,
horse.
okay.
Some can tolerate an hour. I should point out that our next endeavor, we hope, which was in our capital campaign, was to have a simulator on site. And it's a very professional piece of equipment, of which some of the children will be able to benefit from that couldn't necessarily benefit from a horse. Or we start them on the simulator and get them onto the horse afterwards. It's been very enlightening and very rewarding to see how these kids progress. But some progress, it can be a very intimidating to be around a horse in a big facility. So
Right.
this simulator will help that cause, we feel.
Well, thank you very much, and I
Thank
wish
you.
you all the best.
Thank you so much.
And hope it grows and people go out to
We're
your
gonna grow
gala
it.
and you have a good fundraiser.
We're in with
Thank
both
you.
feet now. There's no turning back.
No. Okay, we're happy to have you in St. John.
Thank you so much.
you.
Thank you, Deputy. Councillor Norden.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, you built it. You can't go anywhere.
Can't go now.
You're in there.
Build it and they will come.
That's right. That's right. We in St. John, we like to be, facilities that are one of a kind, and that's kind of our claim to fame. The closest therapeutic riding association, other than Shining Horizons, maybe from here, would be.
There's other ones in Fredericton and Moncton, but they're much like we were.
Sure.
The only other one that I would compare us to would be the St. John's Newfoundland one.
Okay.
There's huge facilities in Guelph, Ontario, Langley, BC,
Okay.
that do it full time. It's 6 days a week, 8 hours a day.
Those other facilities you talk about, do they have the Cantra certification
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
Perfect.
Very
So we,
important.
I guess, the only other question is, we can continue to help with grants, continue to help with the promotion that you've had here this evening in terms of this platform. If there's anything else that we can do, let us know, and we look forward to watching you grow underneath the board's leadership and obviously underneath Mr. Ryan's. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Awareness is key.
Bring the kids at.
Yeah.
You got it.
Awareness is key for us, and we've discovered that.
Perfect.
The more word we get out, the better off we're going to be, as any organization will discover, I'm sure.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're trying to find, I know I've been invited out for a visit many times, so I'll be out. So thank you very much. And for me, I guess, sort of smiling inside and out for you both, the work you're doing, but also I remember, kind of having this conversation with you when it was a dream, right? So, I mean, congratulations to you, the board, the community, all the supporters that have helped you, take this idea and turn it into reality. And thank you for the contribution you're making. I can't imagine the difference you're making in those families, in the families' lives. So thank you very much for that work.
Thank you so much. It's been
Okay.
really rewarding, and
Great.
thank you everyone here. This community is phenomenal. I wouldn't live anywhere else.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, council. Can I have a receive and file, please? Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Norton. Thank you. And on the question, all those in favor? Anyone contrary-minded? Okay, thanks. Just a couple of housekeeping items to our guests in the far back right. Please feel free to pull the blind down. There, I think there's a cord there somewhere because Zoe, I see you're getting. You're getting a suntan there, I think. And if it's warm in here, folks, I don't know the logistics of it, but if anyone needs a drink or whatever of water, please we'll figure out a way to get it. We've got some jugs here. We've got some glasses. If anyone needs a drink, please just signal and we'll get some jugs of water to the back there so you can have a drink, and we'll fix that for next time. Okay, thank you. Common Clerk, hit your button for me. Okay. No, go. You hit it. Leave it.
Okay,
There you
sorry.
go. Next item, please.
Next item, Your Worship, is 12.1 on the agenda, and it's Continuous Improvement Initiatives Update.
Okay, Deputy City Manager Neil Jacobson is going to introduce this. Get to the podium. There you go, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. The city manager has challenged all service areas to fully develop and begin implementation by the end of each quarter, one idea to support our growth initiative and another to support improved customer service. As part of this commitment, I am pleased to introduce 3 employees from Finance and Administrative Services and Corporate Services that will share 3 interesting innovation and continuous improvement initiatives developed by their respective service areas. David Kirkpatrick, City Market Manager, will present an initiative on creating a City Market Employee Ambassadors Program for growth. Our City Solicitor, John Nugent, will present on developing an introductory guide for developers to subdivision agreements to support the growth initiative. Lisa Casey, our Acting Communications Manager, will present an engaging way for the public to better understand the value they receive for their investment in the community with the implementation of a municipal minute video series. It should be noted that in addition to the City Manager's quarterly service innovation projects that you have been hearing about on a regular basis at our council meetings, including the 3 this evening, we have 27 core continuous improvement projects underway with the support of 8 certified black belt process improvement facilitators, 10 certified green belt process improvement facilitators, 7 green belt candidates, and 22 trained yellow belts. We are now halfway to achieving our goal of reducing operating expenditures by a cumulative $2.5 million by the end of 2019. So with that, I'll turn things over to Mr. Kirkpatrick to talk about his ambassador program.
Thank you, Neil. People visiting St. John on vacation or for business have the opportunity to learn about what the city has to offer as a resident or investor. 18 years ago, Phil Friedman, founder and CEO of Computer Generated Solutions, was on a cruise ship docked in St. John. During a brief stopover, he paid a visit to a business in the city that partnered with Computer Generated Solutions. This led to the beginning of the tech company's Canadian subsidiary. First attracted by the quality of the people and their entrepreneurial drive, the company now has close to 100 people working in the uptown core. As the second most visited tourism location in St. John, the city market welcomes 1.4 million visitors per year. This includes approximately 200,000 cruise ship passengers from all around the world. The city market provides an opportunity to showcase the unique characteristics of St. John and our diverse talent to attract both people and businesses to relocate in our city. The Finance and Administrative Services team has engaged a number of our economic development partners to educate and train city market employees on how they can offer interesting tidbits of information or become better equipped to answer questions to spark curiosity about what St. John has to offer. City market staff have already met with the Director of Investment at Edge St. John to learn what might attract people to St. John. The key messages that employees can share with visitors is accessibility and affordability. Additional training and education will include customer service training, which took place on May 3rd, and City Ambassador training through Discover St. John, which is taking place on May 15th, plus ongoing education about the city market itself from me. The initial focus will be on providing training to city market employees. Based on lessons learned, this training could be offered to other frontline city employees and key stakeholders, possibly including city market vendors. The main objective is to leave visitors with a better impression of the city, hopefully leading people wanting to relocate to St. John or businesses being established and jobs created in the city. Thank you.
We'll turn things over to the City Solicitor, John Nugent.
Evening, Mayor Darling and members of council. The subdivision agreement is a document that is an integral part of almost every development in the city of St. John which involves the subdivision of land. Every time a subdivision involves the provision of a public or future street, municipal water, storm, or wastewater services, including stormwater management ponds and private drainage facilities, as well as electric power, gas, telephone, cable, TV, telecommunications services, as well as similar related work, the subdivision agreement is required. It was our experience and the observation of those who are or have been involved as developers or as representatives of developers that a treatment of the nature, content, and the processing of subdivision agreements would be of assistance. And consequently, we've developed a package that we're titling an Introductory Guide for Developers to Subdivision Agreements. Now that document explains when a subdivision agreement is required. It describes the purposes which a subdivision agreement services. It identifies the components of a subdivision agreement and sets out the obligations of the developer and of the city which arise under the agreement, and it addresses the timing of the preparation and finalization of the subdivision agreement. Additionally, this package will provide to a potential developer an example of a subdivision agreement, as well as examples of the documentation which a developer would be required to provide in order to satisfy the developer's obligations respecting insurance and performance security. The thought was that if we were to make this documentation available to prospective developers and make it available as well to each developer whose subdivision plan is assented to by council, this may be of assistance to them in navigating through the process, which, as I said, based upon our own experience, is sometimes been difficult for them when we recognize that many subdividers in the city of St. John are doing this on an infrequent basis. We would hope that this guide will also be an important complement to the customer service enhancements being made by the city's one-stop development shop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, City Solicitor.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here and see you all this evening. My name is Lisa Casey, and I'm the Acting Communications Manager for the city. I'm here to talk to you about our initiative, which is we've called the Municipal Minute video series, and I'll just share a little bit of words about that. So we know that people love videos. They're the most uptake we see on our social media channels to date is whenever we push out a video. So we're visual beings, and people give special connection to what they see and watch on video. Makes everything seem more real and alive, and it allows us to tell our own stories in an accessible and engaging way. Something that the written or the traditional written news release simply doesn't offer anymore. We get very little public uptake from those. So Municipal Minutes are a video series that we published on the city's YouTube channel and promoted through our website and social media channels, which are Facebook and Twitter. Videos may also be featured in St. John at Your Service, which is our new community newsletter that we offer the public on a quarterly basis, and they can be shared with staff through the intranet and email. As the title suggests, they'd be approximately a minute in length and will feature a brief interview with a city employee who's sharing news about their service areas. Subject matter for the videos could include how services are delivered, new initiatives, milestone achievements, seasonal activities, or special events, and the subject matter could also be driven by customer or citizen demand. So based on trends in customer service calls, media coverage, or social media chatter. The videos will serve to inform, engage, and educate our residents on the many services we offer the community, and they'll provide a visual and direct connection between the public and city staff. We'll aim to promote transparency and improve credibility and provide an opportunity to promote services, as I've said, and celebrate some of our wins. So this is an initiative of the Corporate Communications Office, and staff in my office will coordinate the production and publication of the videos. We'll have a measurable component to understand their success, and we plan to share the first one in the second quarter of 2019, so within the next few months. So keep an eye out, and if you have a chance to share them, we'd appreciate that as well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, council?
I'll move receive file.
Okay, moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you, Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just think that this program that the city manager's put out is awesome. I mean, you know, when you've got, your best suggestions are coming from the people that, you know, are working in these departments, and some of these initiatives are going to bring back big dividends for the city. You know, so I mean, to me, it's like in my workplace, we used to have a suggestion box, you know, and they go through a little suggestion thing to improve things. But this is actually interpersonal, you know. I mean, it's sharing ideas face to face. It's not in a box somewhere, and it's getting some results. So I just want to thank everybody that's participating in it. Thank the city manager for bringing it forward, and I look forward to the next suggestions coming out.
Okay, thank you very much. I would echo the same. I think our new city manager, three months or so plus under his belt now, is making a very big impact on the city in terms of, so we thank you as well, I thank you as well, city manager. 4 months, I apologize. Happy birthday. Is the cake? Bring the cake in now. Okay, sorry. Sorry, city manager, later. But just around customer service, around continuous improvement, and around having our staff champions and our teams coming in to, to present to us, because the city is, and through the, our staff, and with, of course, your direction and your fellow senior leadership team, doing a lot of really amazing work. So I love the fact that we're actually doing a better job of celebrating the good work that we're doing, of recognizing that, of course, we can always do better, and ingraining that even more deeply into our culture, and doing what private sector organizations do, but sometimes municipalities don't seem to get the same, the same kind of coverage on that work that we're doing. So I'm thrilled that your teams, are presenting these ideas to us, the culture change you're driving around customer service enhancements, and ultimately, how do we make the city an even more attractive, because it's already a fantastic place to attract people to live, work, and play here. So thank you very much, sir. Okay, on the question for receive and file, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Okay, thank you. Next item, Common Clerk.
12.2 on the agenda, Your Worship, is the City of St. John Climate Change Action Plan.
Okay, thank you. Moved by by Councillor Sullivan, seconded by the deputy, and I have Commissioner Fudge is going to introduce this. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fudge, can you just hit your button for me?
Thank you.
There you go.
Through you, Your Worship. We're very pleased tonight to bring for council consideration a recommendation to approve a number of climate change action items, including the adoption of the city's first corporate greenhouse gas energy action plan, as well as the recommendation to approve a broader community greenhouse gas and energy plan. Both the city corporate plan and the community plan include specific targets and metrics to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, as well as long-term targets that would see the city be carbon neutral by 2040. Included in the recommendation is to proceed with the development of a governance structure to support the proper management, monitoring, and implementation of the plan. As well, included in your kit tonight is a climate change declaration for council to endorse. So with that, I'll turn things over to Mr. Samir Yamin. He's our energy and asset manager, who will provide an overview of what action items the city has undertaken in recent past, as well as a brief overview of both the city and community greenhouse gas and energy plans.
Okay, Mr. Yamin, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fudge. Thank you for council and mayor for the invitation to be here to present it. I am very excited. I think we are into a milestone right now, I believe myself. So, okay, just to give you overview about the objective of this report here. The objective is to provide council with overview, description of all the list of program, plan, strategy, and approach the city is taking in order to address climate change. Adaptation, where we implemented adaptation strategy to adapt our infrastructure, our community system as a result of extreme weather event, And the second one is the climate change adaptation mitigation, where we implement energy efficiency, solar, renewable energy sources, active transportation to reduce our greenhouse gas emission here. So these two, I just want to be clear on these two here. The second objective here, when I'm seeking council here to adopt our new corporate and community greenhouse gases and energy action plan, as well as our new greenhouse reduction target here to move forward to low economy. The main objective of this, our climate change action plan here is to move forward to low carbon economy while we pursue some economical environmental opportunity, as well we can able to reduce the climate change impact on our infrastructure as well as our community at large. So first of all, I want to start list some of the initiative. One of the initiative we have been working on it for the last 2 years was our asset management program. As you recall, in 2018, City of St. John Council has adopted an asset management policy. In this policy, we included that climate change will be considered as part of our infrastructure investment strategy, as also will be considered as part of our design and planning process going forward. Additionally, we have climate change will also be part of our risk management strategy when we try to prioritize our capital investment. The second initiative we're working as part of our asset management program is we'll be conducting a climate change vulnerability assessment on our critical infrastructure, such as road, storage system, our main water main. And the objective of this here is to identify mitigation strategy or adaptation strategy to help reduce the risk as a result of extreme weather, such as flooding, ice storm, extreme cold, extreme heat here. And both of these projects were fully funded by FCM. And we expect to complete them by 2019. The second one, as part of our climate change mitigation, when we reduce our greenhouse gases, as you know, the City of St. John was an early adopter of our municipal energy efficiency program. This program has been recognized nationally and regionally as best practice here, and we will be able to reduce our greenhouse gases by 24% to 2000 level, which resulted to over 9,600 tons of CO2, which in my opinion is considered a significant amount for the size of our city corporation. We need to capitalize on this MEP program here in order to move forward with our corporate and community greenhouse gases. The second thing here is we'll be working collaborate with the province of New Brunswick Environmental as well with ACAP. And Mr. Graham Stewart is here, is leading this project. And if you have any question on this, we'll be happy to answer the question. To develop a climate change adaptation for the community at large, where we're going to identify area and system which are vulnerable to flooding, ice storm, and so on. And we're hoping to make recommendation or adaptation strategy to help us reduce this risk at the long term. And we're hoping to include this one as part of our municipal plan, even our asset management plan and emergency personal response. Everything will be integrated together here. And the second one we're working on is on the community resilient action plan is part of our climate change adaptation. And Mr. Eddie Oldfield here from Quest, which is a national organization here. They work with community resilient here, and also Mr. Eddie Oldfield is from FCM also. And basically, we are using the same methodology as the climate adaptation. However, we'll be concentrating on our energy infrastructure when looking to find mitigation strategy as a result of energy outages. And we hope, and also as part of this, we have recommendation to implement it as part of our emergency measurement system, as well as part of our municipal planning. Now we are moving to the mitigation strategy here. As I indicated prior, is we develop our municipal energy management program, and we need to capitalize it. And we've been literally working for the last 2 years to develop a corporate as well as a community energy plan. We had two public consultation. We have worked with over 10 to 12 stakeholders over the time to develop this both here. We will be able to develop our inventory. we're able to establish our greenhouse gas asset to be 30% by 2025, and we will identify all the projects we needed in order to meet this target, whether they are energy efficiency target, whether they are renewable energy sources, whether they are fleet and transit strategy to help us to reduce our greenhouse gases. We did, and the benefit over this, we're hoping by 2025, if we implemented this strategy, we're looking at over 2.2 million, which resulted over 7,000 tons of CO2. And we're looking at our long-term plan for the corporates to be carbon neutral by 2040, which is a big step for us to achieve this target. The second one, as well, is the Community Greenhouse Gas and Energy Action Plan. This is a new step for us in a new direction here. By moving forward to low-carbon economy, we are looking at an energy target by 9% by 2025 and 18% by 2035. And we will be working literally with St. John Energy to develop a lot of renewable energy sources. We'll develop looking at district energy system and also a lot of energy efficiency to promote it in home, businesses, commercial. It's a big step forward on this here. And the benefit, if we be able to meet the 9%, we'll be able to reduce our, have to have over 44 million annual savings for the whole community, which resulted to over 66,000 tons of CO2. As well, we can be able to divert over $1.1 billion over 25 years in energy into our local economy. So both, in order to be successful, the social, the economic, and the environmental has to work all together to make it happen. The next step here, as Mr. Fudge indicating here, we are looking at developing, we need to develop an implementation and monitoring plan going forward on this project. It is very important. We need to develop a working committee or government structure to help us manage and monitor this project here. Looking at to prioritize the list of corporate projects, and the most important thing, in order to have this project move forward, we need to start solicitor, federal, and provincial funding to implement some of this project. So this is in conclusion. I'm very excited to be here. It is pleasure, and as I indicated again, it's a big milestone. We are where we are right now in St. John. I'll be happy to take any question. Did I meet the 10-minute deadline?
You did very well.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
See how you do on questions.
Oh, my.
Well, first, before we open up to questions, Mr. Yaman and the rest of the team, some of the guest experts we have that you identified, Mr. Yaman, every time you come to see us, there isn't a person that would question your passion and dedication to this topic. You can make the most complex topic. You break it down very easily for us. We know that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of pages behind what you just presented us in work. You've highlighted the key elements, governance, and the monitoring plans, and just, again, some other comments, but just want to say thank you for your leadership. You've played a massive role here for us, so thank you very much. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Samir, for that question. And you know what? You use the word complex, right? To anybody else or someone like me, you take something that's boring and make it exciting. And that's how it is. So, and your passion is undeniable no matter what you take into. What I have the question about is, for this long-term, and I hate the word climate change because weather change, right? Will it cost this city money initially to get to the point you're talking about? Is there an investment to be had?
It's a good point here. This is a very good point here. So the challenge we have here is when we talk about climate change adaptation here, we put the measure in place. However, we don't know the benefit unless it's happened. So if it doesn't happen, yes, there's no benefit to the city. When extreme weather happen and we have the adaptation measure in place, such as raising the road, raising the lift station, if you don't have any weather event, yeah, but however, when there is a weather event, there's a lot of economical and social and environmental benefit to what we're doing here. And there's many studies indicate this benefit is out past the capital investment. However, if it does not happen, well, there's no benefit for us.
Okay, so you explained the tonnage and, tons of carbon and all that, right? Do we actually have a say in that, or is that coming from other, we're a country of 37 million people, and there's 1 billion people in India, and between two countries, 80% of the pollution comes from those two countries, right? But when you say the tonnage here, does that just affect St. John, New Brunswick? That's just here, right?
Yeah, when we did the community greenhouse gases inventory, we look at the whole city of St. John community, excluding the large industry, because the large industry is part of the provincial regulation. So what you see here is the city of St. John, the community at large.
Okay, thank you. And I like the part where you can get federal money, because, I mean, you know, it's very important, you know, that we get the federal money, and you guys got it all in line up to get federal money. So I appreciate your passion. There's no one more passionate than you, Samir, and no one more knowledgeable when it comes to the energy and all that. So thank you.
Thank you.
I need my mic. Councillor Merrithew.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, thanks very much, Samir. We're lucky to have you. This is wonderful work, sincerely, with you and the rest of the folks that have worked on this. Question, your target for COT is 16,643 tons you had here, but so presently we're at 23,776 tons, but that's already down 9,400.
Yeah, what we did over the years, we were be able to reduce our greenhouse gases by 24% from year 2000. When we start working on our corporate and community energy, we set up a baseline of 2015.
Very good.
And going forward, we're looking in line with 2016 to reduce our greenhouse gases by 30% by 2025. You're right, Councillor, we already down by 10% already as a 2018 compared to 2015 target.
So we're moving in the right direction.
We are
quite
moving in the
rapidly.
right direction,
Yeah.
but it is challenging.
That was my next question. So have we that 10%? Have we picked the low-hanging fruit, or is there more of this? I thought that was pretty rapid move, and I'd like to see more of it.
We did pick up the low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
As I indicated in my slides, I call it now, I use the word now, when it's come to my corporate, I call it deep building energy retrofit. Now we're going deep little bit. In order for us to meet the target, we need to go beyond low-hanging fruit, beyond energy efficiency, changing the light, beyond things. We need to move into more renewable sources, if we can, more in heat recovery sources, more into the area we will be struggling and we're working hard is, nothing against Ian, is the fleet and the transportation, where we see a big impact we can do, and the staff at the fleet and the transit, they're moving into that direction by reducing idling, which we find it a big impact, by moving to electric vehicle. We are looking forward in the electric vehicle. We're moving all into this direction to reduce our greenhouse gases. And innovation is moving rapidly. Sometimes innovation is going faster beyond to catch it. So there is an opportunity for us to meet this target, as long as innovation can be more efficient, more costly. So we are hoping.
Well, I'm proud of what you've done so far, sincerely am, but I echo what Councillor Armstrong said. If there's federal and provincial money out there, and I know there is, and in this environment we find ourselves in, no pun intended, okay, then we've got to attack that directly and severely. So, but thank you very kindly, sir.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Council.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess some random thoughts and comments. First of all, not lost on me is our climate change action strategy is coming through the Finance Department.
Yep.
And I mention that because there are a lot of myths out there that combating climate change costs money and it's not economically feasible to do so, when really the City of St. John started combating our effects on climate change because we were saving money.
That's right.
You know, some of the low-hanging fruit talked about, anybody who's been in a rink in St. John knows that it's different lighting and there's insulation in the ceilings.
Yeah.
Small thing, saves money. The fact that St. John Energy uses LED bulbs in streetlights saves a bunch of money. You know, there's a lot of actions, the no idling policy that we just heard about 2 weeks ago. And I guess use the word project a lot. I guess I'm going to use the word value when I talk about this. Like, really, a lot of this presentation has talked about corporate city of St. John having the climate crisis in our minds when we are developing policies. Just alongside, we're looking to be fiscally responsible, we're looking to grow the city, and when we do that, we also look to do it in an environmentally responsible manner. My guidance counselors in the teaching profession I've ever worked with keep telling me the same thing, you know, Mr. Sullivan, you control what you can control. And the city of St. John, while we also continue to advocate and support our citizens in advocating, you're certainly making sure that what the city of St. John can control, we are looking under every rock, we are looking at all the new technologies, we are on top of things. You know, language being what it is, I guess I'll finish with this. You know, whether we call it climate change, impacts of weather, the old global warming term, Greta Thunberg, who is the young person who has really riled up the youth in the world, a recent tweet was, it's 2019, can we all now please stop saying climate change and call it what it is? A climate breakdown, a climate crisis, a climate emergency, an ecological breakdown, ecological crisis, and ecological emergency. Whatever we call it, I am glad that it is now an underlying value with the city of St. John. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Well said. Deputy Mayor.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Samir. You've done some interesting things in the last number of years being here at the City of St. John. You've saved the city a lot of money and, you know, taken us in a new direction, and I want to compliment you because I think a lot of the initiatives that you've undertaken have helped the city and really put us on the map, and you're the one that's been the leader of it all. And I know you make it sound exciting, green energy and climate change, and you're really passionate, but there's a lot of excitement there. So I'm just asking you a couple general questions. You know, I loved your presentation, but you know, since this is the second year, and I know the province is looking into this, that we've had flooding at this time, and we're still just getting through it. Should the City of St. John be looking at the various areas that the city has flooded in the last 2 years and looking at whether we should have a policy on whether we allow new development there or not? I know this is not something maybe that's all that popular, but you know, even with the province and us, we are paying out a lot of money for the flooding situations. Do you have any take on that, or do you think that's something that in time that the city would have to look at in terms of new development?
That's a good question, Deputy Mayor, and as part of our programs, for example, the climate change adaptation plan, we'll be looking at this area again through a climate change lenses, looking at the vulnerable area, and I'm pretty sure with ACAP here, we'll be identifying or making recommendation, whether it's a bylaw, whether it is it's going to be in our new subdivision, whether it's going to be in our municipal plan, to make sure reduce the vulnerability risk associated with any extreme weather events on this area, whether it is coming flooding, whether it is extreme weather event such as cold, ice storm, even for building for our roof. We need to change the way we build our roof also to make sure we don't the roof does not leak, because we have in the winter now the thaw and the freezing in the game. So this has a lot of impact on our building roof. So there's many areas when we look at this, we'll identify it and make sure it's implemented in our plan.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your comments. The other issue I just wondered if you could say something about it is that I know it's something that you've talked about for quite some time, that you've always thought that the buildings in the uptown area could all have like the same heating system, like somehow that would be developed and a source of heat could go through a various number of buildings, and that would save a lot of energy costs. And since, well, we don't own the building we're in, but we do own the city market, has any progress been made on it? You still have that dream that you hope that can happen? I mean, energy costs are so expensive now, and anybody that can come up with something that will save money.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's a good question. I remember a long time. Anyway, let's not get too back there. It is part of our community energy plan strategy to have a district energy system in St. John. We're fortunate in St. John. We have an opportunity in St. John right now here when we have the harbor, and so we have a lot of industrial waste coming from Alvin Pulp and Paper Refinery, and we have an opportunity if we can recover this heat, and we can try to distribute it to uptown area. So this help us to reduce our greenhouse gases as well, we reduce the energy cost, and we reduce our dependency on fossil fuel. This is the whole area like that. So this is part of our overall strategy when we're looking at our community greenhouse gas action plan. It is on the radar, and we are in discussion on that here, definitely.
So you think in the future that
I think we have an opportunity in St. John. I think we have a long term, and we have to look at the long term, 50 years now. I think this is the best opportunity for us to be sustainable economically and environmentally on this year. I believe this is a great opportunity. I hope we can make it happen, really. But it's a lot of challenges. But however, there's a lot of stakeholder communities here are willing to work with us here, with the St. John, in order to move this project, and we need this stakeholder involvement to move this project forward.
Well, I really appreciate that, but there's one thing, and I'm kind of kidding when I say this, but I'm not kidding you. I wonder if there's anything like, because of the change in temperature, especially here in St. John, you know, that's why we have so many potholes, is because the difference in temperatures in the winter. Is there anything that we ever can come up with that will we can develop some kind of product that we can use that will allow us to have those changes in temperatures, but not crush our pavements so much?
Well, I think it's a fair question. It's a good question here. Our weather is changing, and things like road potholes start to get more happening frequently, and something seriously in the future as part of our operation management to look at it to see if, as part of our asset management program, we have climate change will be considered part of our any planning or any design changes. This will be considered part of our asset management program when you look at our any existing or new infrastructure.
Well,
That's
I thank you.
Question.
Thank you for all your good work.
Oh,
thank you, Samir.
Okay, thank you, Deputy. Get your podium back on, Samir, sorry. There you go, Councillor Norton.
Thank you, Worship. Flying cars would take care of that pothole thing. Flying cars. I always remember by the year 2000, we were supposed to be in flying cars. We're not there yet, but Samir, if anyone can do it, you can. So speaking of climate change lens, nobody's a better quarterback than you, and I'm happy we have you at the helm. And I know whether it's Quest or whether it's our environmental partners taking a look at all these things, I know that you're a great partner to more than just the folks here at the City of St. John. I'm very much in support of the declaration that we're going to be talking about or voting on or endorsing or what have you. But that declaration doesn't preclude the fact that we've been doing this a long time before this declaration. The declarations are good, but they have become in vogue as of recent. It's the thing to do, but the thing to do is something that St. John's been doing for a long time now. And you know, you just need to go back to 2017 when the good folks at Quest they recognized the city of St. John for an award for what we were doing in terms of municipal energy efficiency. And based on some of the systems that we had in place. They also recognized what we were doing with our utility. Yeah. And the fact that St. John Energy, for the Energy Star most efficient mini-split ductless heat pump rental program. So it's just not City Hall proper. It's what our partners have been doing. The City of St. John, I think, a millennia ago had this definition or this, we were a dirty, industrial, gritty city. I think the narrative's changed that we're green and we're leading the way now. Whether it's RFPs have been issued for windmill farms through St. John Energy, whether it's through harbor cleanup that's already happened. There's municipalities that are still dumping raw sewage. We're not doing that anymore. You can have a dip in that harbor. It's cold. I caution against it, but it's clean. And, looking at other innovative approaches. We've LED lighting throughout the city, looking at reflective lighting within our rinks. We go into our rinks and sometimes we don't realize that our energy consumption in our rinks has been cut drastically, and it's because of that reflective lighting. I remember when you brought that to us, Samir, I go into other communities and they're still using light that you can feel the energy leaving the building. So there's a number of things that we're doing. I think of what we're doing to protect our watersheds and clean water and protecting that habitat around those areas. I don't want to be anybody's fool. We have a laundry list of things that we're doing, and that's the tip of the iceberg. But Samir's coming in with all of those good news things. This declaration is just another. It staples it all together. But we've been doing it for a long time. Thank you, City Manager, staff, for all of those people that are putting these things together, and obviously our partners that work closely with us to make sure that we leave a greener city than how we found it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Worship. Well, Councillor Norton sort of summed up what I was going to say. I mean, really, when you think about St. John Energy, for example, not only are they into, looking at developing wind energy, but solar energy, they're spreading it throughout the land in terms of these mini splits and saving people money on their bills. That product's going out the window. I mean, it's crazy. So it's nice to have the whole community and the partners working together in the same direction, because some people don't even realize that their home is contributing to the effort in, reducing carbon emissions because of a product that they buy. They don't. Some people don't understand the effects of that. So it's good that we're all working together, and I think more and more people are learning, because of us learning how much money we save by just turning the bus off or turning the piece of equipment off for 10 or 15 minutes while you run in and grab a coffee. People are doing that now. I see people at Tim Hortons that are actually shutting their cars off. You didn't see that 5 years ago. So I mean, I think the word is getting out there. I think that, the good work that you're doing, Samir, along with our partners at St. John Energy and other corporations, I think it's really paying off. So I really want to thank you for putting this together, and I look forward to voting on the next item. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Council. And Mr. Yamin, thank you very much for your presentation. I don't have any other questions, so thank you very much. Just procedurally, City Manager, we have a recommendation which includes the declaration. In my view, would be to read the declaration for the audience. And there's just one small tweak of the declaration, and I'll point that out to you, Council, from the declaration that was in our kit, and it deals with capital investment asset management. I'll get that. So included in the kit tonight, we have the following declaration, which I'm privileged to read. It's a climate change declaration, and it reads, whereas it is well established that climate warming is causing significant disruptions to the world's climatic systems, increasing the frequency of extreme weather events and posing other significant risks such as drought, forest fires, and rising sea levels, and that these disruptions in our climate pose threats to our natural environment, our health, our jobs, and economy. And whereas local governments are essential to the successful implementation of the urgent measures required to limit the global climate impact. And whereas local governments around the world are taking new actions to avoid the worst impacts of climate breakdown and calling on senior levels of government for a more urgent response. And whereas the City of St. John's asset management policy requires climate change to be considered in all capital investment decisions. And whereas the City of St. John has been taking action on sustainability and has a corporate plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And whereas the City of St. John is also a participant in the Community Greenhouse Gas Action Plan, and therefore be it resolved that Common Council of the City of St. John endorse the Climate Change Action Plan as presented to Council on May the 6th, 2019. this is the slight change, excuse me, that climate change to be considered in all capital investment and asset management decisions and in the development and modification of planning policies and bylaws. That council call upon our federal and provincial governments to support the City of St. John in its efforts to deal with climate change and to do what is necessary and required now to create a safe and livable future for our generation and those that may come in the future. But the city manager provides regular updates to Common Council on the city's climate change action plan, including new initiatives, challenges and successes. Okay, so that motion is, okay, well, that was on the floor, I believe. I just wanted to clarify that that is the declaration. So, okay, no comments on the question. Okay, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Okay, well, thank you very much. Just before we move on, folks, just a couple of comments. One, I truly feel like it's an historic night. Around this topic, there are so many passionate leaders, many of whom know way more than me, but I've really enjoyed speaking with them. As many of you have said tonight, I feel like we've been working on this. I think many of you highlighted the many elements that we've been working on for years, but I'm really proud that, and this is the conversation I was essentially having in front of City Hall last Thursday, and here we are on Monday, and saying, look, here's what we are working on, and here's the detail that's coming. And many folks are asking for a declaration or asking for a motion, and my response to each and everybody that I spoke with is, we actually want more than a motion. We want action. It's a bit, the recurring theme was climate action. So I'm really, really proud that this council, through obviously the work of its amazing staff, have put on the table tonight for consistent action, and as your city manager is committed in the declaration, report cards. How are we doing? How are we progressing? And there will be challenges. There will be successes, but there will be challenges. So I'm incredibly proud of this organization for the work that it's done there. I'm also, one of the other themes in last Thursday's discussion in City Hall is, and it's a sidebar from tonight's discussion, but I'll tell you, I would support changes to the provincial government's voting age in a heartbeat. For the folks that I met in front of City Hall the other day, should have an immediate vote in the next provincial election in the city. This is your city today, and it is your city, and you are the stewards here that are going to drive the bus. So again, thanks for the passion. So I don't think we have to make any more comments about whether we think climate change is real, whether we're having these extreme climate events. The 1 in 100 floods came 2 years in a row, massive snowstorms, ice storms, all these things. So I hope tonight, to the citizens of St. John, we've shown more than just words, but our staff teams have put some real action forward, and I know that all of the engaged folks that are here and at home are going to continue to be there with us and roll your sleeves up with us as we continue to move this dialogue and these actions forward. So I'm thrilled, and I believe that this places St. John, New Brunswick as one of the leaders in municipalities across the country, and I'm really thrilled with that. So thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Mr. Yemen. Okay, next item.
Next item, Your Worship, is 12.3 on your agenda. It's an update with respect to flood recovery.
Okay, and we'll have the city manager introduce.
Your Worship, members of council, first of all, I would like to personally recognize, because he won't do it himself, and certainly he wouldn't be happy that I'm doing this, but I don't care, I'm his boss. I'd like to personally recognize our designated incident commander for the emergency response we've undertaken for this most recent flood event, for his leadership, his passion, and most importantly, his caring for the residents and businesses of the City of St. John during the crisis. And by extension, also recognize all the members of our Emergency Operations Center and our Emergency Management Organization for everything that they've done over the last few weeks. I cannot say, I don't want to say, that our emergency response went well, because, quite frankly, individuals and families were dramatically affected by the floods. But what I can say is that our responders performed admirably. Members of council, I've had the privilege to work, because of my past career, with many emergency management organizations and emergency operations centers, and I can say without hesitation that the City of St. John's response capability is second to none at the municipal level. We can, no doubt, improve, and we will do so, but I'm convinced we are on the right track. Although the current flood situation is not over, since we are still in the recovery phase, I have asked our incident commander, Chief Kevin Clifford, who also, as his day job, happens to be our fire chief, to give us an updated presentation on the flood and recovery efforts. Chief, over to you.
Thank you, City Manager.
Good evening, Your Worship, and councillors, and certainly staff who have worked so tirelessly with St. John Emo. I just want to get orientated here for a sec. Okay, John. So Mayor Darlin and members of Common Council, I am pleased to take a couple of minutes to share some data from St. John EMO's response to the second worst flood in our city's history. First, it is important to note that we are still in level 1 activation, which just changed 2 hours ago while we were sitting in committee of the whole. We've gone to just normal situational awareness as a result of meeting some of the benchmarks that we were waiting on. I do have much of the data that speaks to the city's efforts in responding to the event that for the most part started on Easter Sunday. 284 homes, St. John homes, were isolated by flood, and 75 of those homes were impacted by flood water. 19 properties were disconnected from power at the peak of the flood event, with 10 properties remaining disconnected. 68 families registered with the Canadian Red Cross as having left their home as a result of this year's flood. The Canadian Red Cross provided lodging to 14 St. John families and 32 people at the peak of the event. Currently, 9 St. John families and 24 people are still being housed by the Canadian Red Cross. Transportation and Environment Services filled 30,900 sandbags, and it was an incredible, and I got to tell you, I watched those folks, and I talked to some of them this week. The folks at the Local 18 and the Transportation and Environment Services, they were inspired to keep pace with demand. And it was a much safer operation this year. So of those 30,900, 24,197 sandbags went to St. John residents as they worked to protect their homes. The remaining 6,703 sandbags will be shrink-wrapped and stored. They'll have some life, maybe a year, 2 years. I remember being in a conversation about 3 years ago when the province as a whole, everybody was saying you can't hold the St. John River back. Over 60-some of our families' homes held the St. John River back and protected their home by virtue of our commitment to providing sandbags to our residents. We were the first municipal community that came out and said we were going to do that. Months, about 4 or 5 weeks prior to us delivering the sandbag policy, the headline in the paper was, nobody else was. 14 roads were closed at the peak of the flood, and at the time that I wrote this afternoon, 3 roads remain closed. They're now open. 8 parks have been closed as a result of potential contamination from flood water. The parks will reopen once they are assessed later this week or possibly next week. 2 roads were built up to allow for citizen access, as you're aware, Westfield Road and Ragged Point Road. We talk about depth. Over 40 city employees reported for duty to the EOC, which was at level 3 activation for nearly 3 weeks, or 2 weeks. Another 219 city employees joined the response in the operational theater. Commissioner Hugenholtz and I shared the same sandbag hill on Manor Sutton one afternoon. We've seen so many of our employees at all different levels participating. Approximately 6,553 hours of city staff time was allocated to responding to the flood event. There was one reported injury, but with no lost time. Up to this point, we've had 23 homes requesting volunteer help to clean up debris. We've been able to coordinate 18 of those requests with over 65 volunteers. What we'll do later in the week, as we stood down level 1, but we're still maintaining situational awareness. We'll do later in the week is get a sense of what the demand is from residents for help. I'm not sure that we can reach to the community for volunteers or not, but we're going to have that conversation in the middle of the week. So as we work through the final recovery phase, it's important to remember, and just as the city manager so appropriately mentioned, there's a lot of citizens that had a lot of great difficulty and suffered significant loss for the second year in a row. Although we are not responsible for causing the flood event, municipal government does have a role in helping our citizens through hazard incidents that could bring harm to our greater community. To this end, I am proud of our municipal efforts to help during this most recent crisis. We have received a number of positive comments on how we approached each and every day by setting and attaining objectives that helped our citizens make their way through the flood event. I am particularly proud, significantly proud, that all aspects of our municipality, as positioned here tonight and led by our commissioners, our deputy commissioners, our city manager, and our council, our finance department, growth and community development, legal, St. John Water, corporate services, transportation environment, public safety, corporate communications, city manager, and council, they've all participated and collaborated on what was St. John EMO's efforts. An outstanding collaborative St. John EMO effort, an effort made possible as a result of a commitment to preparation. Finally, and on a point I hope resonates deeply with everyone in our community, there is no overstating the value of having an emergency response script in place for the hazards that are in our community. Our flood response experience of 2018, which was very good, and subsequent rehearsal this past spring of a potential second flood event, allowed for us to build a more refined, more disciplined playbook from which to best help our community through its second consecutive flood of the century. Moving forward, we need to continue to advocate for the ability to build the same robust types of playbook or scripts for all the hazard locations that are in our community. Anything less is putting the extraordinary St. John EMO team that we have at an unnecessary disadvantage when faced with whatever natural, man-made, or accidental crisis that may unfold here in St. John. We have an extraordinary team. Again, there's great loss, but we have an extraordinary team to help our community. That team needs to have those scripts, needs to have those playbooks.
Thank you very much, Chief. We may have a couple of comments or questions for you. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you. Again, I mean, I'm just going to reiterate, when people are in crisis, you guys answer the call. Human people answer the call for people in help. And you have to be on the front lines to really understand. And yes, not everybody obeys the rules. They like moving from their home voluntarily. But you know, you guys understand that it's their home. So my question is, Kevin, this is 2 years now, and you've seen the devastation to a lot of properties. So say next year it happens again. I mean, it's just a fact of life. But the people that got flooded this year and put thousands of sandbags around, is there a deterrent we can implement to stop that from happening again, like building burns? I know we can't force people, but the advice coming from you guys, EMO and all that, to show that they're losing thousands of dollars in their home. But if they build a burn or something instead of after the fact the sandbags, is there anything we can do or you can do besides practicing, because this is the second year and it's gone really well, there's always going to be problems, but to help prevent those people that are being devastated?
Well, I'm on you. We're in the recovery phase now, but before we got to allow people to pass through where we are right now. There's a lot of people that are hurting and have had, a significant loss, and we probably ought not to talk about what we should do in the future with respect to drastic changes. But the recovery phase takes us through some of those things. The recovery phase will talk about what we need to do, but I think right now is, I think there are things we can do to be better, and that's part of always continual improvement. But to take a position that we should do this, and communities and homeowners should do that, it's probably too early. But I think those questions and that discussion, I think will happen. I think obviously 2 in a row is going to cause this leadership team to have that discussion. But that, I think in the fullness of time, we'll have the appropriate discussion.
Yeah, I hope I didn't phrase it right, that I don't want to put blame on the homeowners.
No.
I'm just saying that, because it's devastating, and nobody wants to see it happen to these people again.
Right.
But, and I know it's early, but from your experience, you know where the problems will happen each and every time, I gather.
Can I have the city manager just jump in as well,
Yeah,
Chief?
sure.
City manager?
Your worship, through you to the counselor, I think there's 2 answers to that question. The first one is what we were just briefed on in terms of the climate change adaptation plan, which will look at the big projects, if you will. What roads need to be elevated, what bridges need to be reinforced, or whatever else along that lines. That will take time and obviously a great deal of infrastructure money that we'll need to go after to accomplish that. The other aspect is something a little bit closer to home. I've already directed the incident commander that after we are truly done, after recovery is complete, we will begin what we call the after-action review process, recognized within the overall procedures for emergency response. In that after-action review process, we will take a look at, are there short-term, smaller initiatives that we can undertake and perhaps encourage homeowners to consider as well as we move forward to the next flood of the century, which probably isn't a century from now. Building of berms, et cetera. Can that be a cooperative venture somehow, et cetera? We will take a look at all of that in the months to come, but it will be months in the making.
All right, thank you, and that's really what I wanted to get at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, city manager. Thank you, counselor. Counselor McKenzie.
Oh, thank you, Worship. Thank you, Chief, for coming in with this report. It's an amazing effort, amazing team, amazing leadership, I got to tell you. I won't talk about some of the things that I was going to talk about because we are in the recovery stage. But one of the things that I find really, really impressive is the number of people that were involved in moving sandbags and tearing out walls that, with wet insulation and drywall and all that heavy work and repetitive work, and one incident without lost time for safety. I mean, that's absolutely remarkable. I would have expected all kinds of back injuries, the emergency full of people going in with, strains and sprains and all the rest of it. So that is really unbelievable that I congratulate everybody involved, for working so safely and getting through this without an injury.
If I could, within the command structure, there's what you call command roles, and one of them is safety. And we're fortunate to have Peter Morgan from our H&R division. I think most of you know Peter. Peter was connected at the hip every day, and his team, and Stephanie Hossick as the director of human resources, their team were in the field. So as part of the priority every single day, as redundant as it was, the message was there.
City manager? Sir, did you want to jump in?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just for a point of clarification, what we tracked were safety incidents which resulted in no lost time for city employees.
Yeah.
I would not want to give that impression to council that there weren't civilian residents who may have tweaked their back or something and gone in for medical aid.
No, and I understand.
Our stat is purely for city employees.
Okay.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I guess as a former safety officer, I'm still saying that's very remarkable. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, counselor. Deputy Mayor.
Well, thank you. Well, I just want to say thank you to the chief. I think, Kevin, over the years, you've really established the EMO organization to what it is today, and you've built it up and made sure that everybody's well-trained, and you've led the charge for our city so many times, and you started that a number of years ago, and, and I think that's why we have the EMO situation as we do now, with a number of our staff being so capable and responsible, and thank you to the city manager, but you yourself have led that charge, so I want to say thank you on behalf of me. That's where I feel that, we have a city that can provide all that for so many of our citizens, and it's been your leadership that has really, gone out and made that what it is today.
I think council needs to take some of the credit, because in 2014-15, we were under significant economic pressure, and at that time, it brought forward the idea of reshaping EMO and reestablishing the manager of EMO, and obviously had an idea of who might be able to do that job. So, there's a team, tremendous team, and it's not appropriate to kind of put it on one person. But it started with council's willingness to invest in that preparedness and in that model at a time where we were looking at finding ways to cut money. So it starts with council, and I'm not, I don't need to blow smoke, but it starts with council. It starts with council, and we've got some pretty incredible people. The manager, Mike Carr, is an extraordinary talent, but it's not even fair to mention Mike's name. No. We've got, look at Richard Evans over in the corner. Richard rose to the occasion, and it's right across the board with this team here in City Hall. It's been amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Deputy. Chief, so just no other comments. I'll just make a couple. I won't mention anyone's names because then I'll forget somebody. In moments like this, whether right or wrong, what I tend to do is jump in a pickup truck and drive around and be with citizens. And I'll tell you, when you see citizens at their low, when their home is being attacked, and their home represents, our the biggest asset, if you will, that we have. And what I remarked year over year, why the previous conversation is so important, is many homes they fought the river the first year. They didn't fight the river the second year. They found that part very challenging. I guess a massive thank you, and thanks doesn't seem like enough, but I want to speak to really pride. And I see, and I just saw in this room tonight, and I saw, when I was touring around and dropping into the EMO Center for 5 minutes just to say thank you. I am so proud to be a minuscule little part of this team that we have here. I see it in our city manager and his pride for getting to work with the experts that he gets to work with, and how fortunate we are to have him with his background, with experience around the globe. To you, Chief, and I know you shed it as quick as we want to say it to you, but it has to be leaders, Chief, and you are a tremendous leader, but it's pride in all of our team, in all of our people who we have the bench strength. Why is our tax rate a bit higher? Because we invest in bench strength. I'll leave out the rest of that as to, but we invest in bench strength. We have the expertise, and, folks took off their other jacket and put on a new jacket and spent 2 weeks in a command center, all of our police force, all of the folks that were involved in this. And I'll tell you, the citizens of this city are incredibly grateful for the work, the efforts, the sandbags, all of the response that you had, and as the city manager has already acknowledged, of course we'll do better because that's our DNA. And I hope that we don't have a 2020 event, but I know we'll put a lot of time and energy into learning from every step we took. And boy, I'll tell you, as a mayor, I feel like the most fortunate mayor in the country to get to work with the teams that we have, and I'm grateful. Thank you, Chief. Okay, can I have a receive and file, please? And Deputy, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. On the question, all those in favor? Thank you. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, next item, Common Clerk, get your mic. There you go.
Your Worship, we added a couple of ticket purchase requests to the agenda.
So could I just then, on a point of order, I guess to myself, I don't think Shining Horizons is on, and their event is on the 16th. Could somebody make a motion to add them? Okay, added by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Merrithew. And that same procedure here, folks, that a note would go out to common council members, and they can reply as to whether they can or would wish to attend. Okay, thank you, Common Clerk.
Okay, so we'll take a vote, starting with the Seafood Fiesta, 16.1.
I'll move that we refer it to the Common Clerk's office to check with council members if they wish to attend.
Okay, thank you. Moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. On the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Thank you. Next one.
16.2, just to confirm with the deputy, was that Loyalist Days, deputy?
No, the first, oh yes, Loyalist Day.
Loyalist
And
Day.
they have a dinner. It's the birthday of the city.
Okay, so you'll move that.
Oh, I should make sure, but I got it right here.
I think there was.
It's called Loyalist Day Dinner.
Okay, so we'll get the details and we'll send it out to
And I'll
council.
refer that to the Common Clerk's office so that they can call the councillor, see if they wish to attend.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Sullivan. I don't see any lights on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Thank you. Next item.
And we added Shining Horizons, but also to vote on that one for the tickets, or?
Same motion, refer to the Common Clerk's office to check with council, see if they wish to attend.
Okay, thank you. Moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. No lights on the question. All those in favor? Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Okay, thank you. Next item.
17.1 came from the Committee of the Whole, and that is for safe, clean drinking water, wastewater class action. And there's a resolution, Committee of the Whole associated with that, and I can read that out if you wish.
Thank you. Yeah.
So that is that the city approve the consent certification order presented in closed session on May 6, 2019.
Sorry. All right, sorry. Yep.
Conflict of interest.
Yep. So just for clarification, we have two members that have an ongoing conflict with this item. We failed to ask them to leave the room, so they're now out of the room, so you can start over, please.
Your Worship, the resolution reads that the city approve the proposed consent certification order presented to Committee of the Whole in closed session at its meeting of May 6, 2019.
Move the resolution.
Recognizing the consent certification order requires ratification of the court and will be made public once it receives court approval.
Sorry, move.
I'll move the recommendation.
Okay, moved by the deputy, second by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. I don't see any lights on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Thank you. Next item.
And 17.2 came from Committee of the Whole as well, and that is with respect to, just one moment here, the management terms and conditions. And that recommendation is that Common Council adopt the updated terms and conditions of employment for management professional personnel effective April 8th, 2019, in the form attached to M&C 2019-68.
Move the recommendation.
Okay, moved by the deputy, second by Councillor Merrithew. Okay, thank you. I don't see any lights on the question. All those in favor? Okay, anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Thank you.
And the final one, Your Worship, was from Committee of the Whole, and it was with respect to dredging of Market Slip. And I believe the solicitor has updated wording for that resolution.
Okay, city solicitor, get you a mic.
And Your Worship, I was drafting that as we were speaking, and that's why I was not paying attention to the last item that arose. This one's been drafted since I've been sitting here following the Committee of the Whole closed session. It's a rather lengthy resolution. Resolved that, and this is the recommendation, resolved that Common Council approve a tender call for the dredging of that portion of Market Slip in the city of St. John identified by 4 specific coordinates, which should be set out in the printed copy of the version, to a dredge depth of 2 meters below low water ordinary spring tide, which tender call shall be issued pursuant to the terms of the general specifications of the city of St. John with the following changes. Number 1, the language of section 2.9.02 will be deleted and replaced with the following, : maximum contract price. If the total tender price identified by the lowest compliant tenderer exceeds $400,000, the city shall not award a contract pursuant to this tender call. Number 2, Section 2.8.03. These are the general spec provisions. Over budget bids will be deleted. And number 3, Section 2.2.01, under the heading General, will be renumbered 2.2.01 bracket A, close bracket, and the following will be added as 2.2.01 bracket B, close bracket, : unless the city has received binding and satisfactory confirmation from the St. John Port Authority respecting the latter's sharing of the dredging costs and the maintenance costs therefore in the following 12 years, a contract pursuant to this tender call will not be executed by the city. And further be it resolved that Common Council authorize the mayor and common clerk to execute a contract with the tenderer submitting the low compliant bid in response to the tender call for dredging of Market Slip, which tender call was approved by Common Council at its open session meeting on May 6, 2019, and which tender call stipulates that a contract will not be awarded if the low compliant bid exceeds $400,000 or a satisfactory confirmation has not been received from the St. John Port Authority with respect to the sharing of the costs therefore. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Sullivan and seconded by the deputy. Thank you. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor?
Briefly, Your
Yep,
Worship.
there you go, sir.
Just for those in the boating community out there, we all owe a big thank you to city staff. This was something that started out and it looked pretty straightforward, and they haven't stopped working on it in months and months and months and months to bring it to this resolution. So just huge thank you that we finally got it here, and looking forward to it moving forward.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. And I'd just add, I would echo the thanks to city staff, but also echo thanks to our partner in this project, St. John Port Authority, that likely without their partnership, this project would not be in front of this council tonight. So, okay, thank you. Don't see any lights on the question. All those in favor? Okay, anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any? Okay, thank you. That's it, Common Clerk? Okay, motion to adjourn, please. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
And the elections.